Today on Through the Numbers, we're going to be going over our best bets for Game 3 of the WNBA semifinals. We got 2 games going on Friday. Before we get into that and our best bets, let's do a quick recap. We went 3-3 with our last video. A couple things I want to address about those picks. First off, Kelsey Plum basically fell off and didn't do what she did in Game 1. And of course, Chelsea Gray, who we bet on in Game 1, showed up and I think would have covered that number in the first quarter. So that was really annoying to watch. It was a great game though, mind you. The Sun failed to cover, unfortunately, so that streak's finally come to an end. Unfortunately, Bridget Carleton, I think she only ended up playing about 27 minutes in that game. So that was about 9-10, give or take, less than what she's been doing. So that made it really hard. She ended up with 9. We needed her to get over 11.5. So we missed that. But as I said, we went 3-3. So we also ended up cashing on Jackie Young's threes over 1.5, and then we cashed on both DeWanna Carrington plays. My favorite play, of course, which was over 16.5 points and rebounds after a very, very slow start. I think she had like 1 rebound, 0 points in the first quarter, but she finished with 18. She finished with 14 points, I believe, which got over the 11.5 that we bet the points as well. So 3-3, fell flat again, bit of a losing day, but we move on to today's game, where we plan on having a much better showing. So the first play I want to look at is the Liberty over 20.5 points in the first quarter. So looking here into Outlier, you can see Vegas is kind of middle of the pack in allowing points defensively. So it's a decent matchup, and as you can see, the Liberty have hit and covered this number and covered it pretty easily in 7 of their last 10. We can check the home and away splits because sometimes that's important. If we check how they do on the road, again, they've covered in 4 straight on the road, pretty significantly. Mind you, those weren't amazing matchups. But 7 of their last 10 on the road. Let's check the head-to-head though. So on the head-to-head, they've covered this in 11 of their last 14 matchups with the Aces. There's a 79% hit rate, and they've covered it in 7 straight. 7 straight games against the Aces, they've gone over 20.5 points in the first quarter. We can check the home and away splits, and again, they've gone over in 2 straight on the road against them. 5 of 7, 71% hit rate. And you're getting minus 102 on it. Like that's pretty good odds. I guess the odds makers are thinking that since that the Aces are going to try and play tighter, but just the way the Liberty have been playing, and they just have so much depth, I can totally see them hitting the over here. So we're going to bet this. We're going to bet the New York Liberty over 20.5 first quarter points. All right, so sticking with this game and sticking with the first quarter, rather than the team total, the other play I like in this game is the total over 42.5 in the first quarter. So if we look at this here, the Liberty have gone over in 8 of their last 10, 4 straight there. And the Aces have gone over in 7 of their last 10, 3 straight. Let's check the head-to-head here. And in the head-to-head, 64% these two teams have gone over 42.5 first quarter points. But what you can see is very interesting is every game this season, they have gone over this number. And pretty significantly too. None of these are close. They went well over 42.5 in every one of these games they've played this season. So I absolutely love this bet. They've gone over in 5 straight games head to head. And then let's look at the home and away split. The home and away split, they've gone over 86% of the time. when these two teams have been either when Vegas has been the home team and the Liberty have been the road team, they've gone over 86% of the time. That's 5 straight as well. So, like I said, this one might be one of my favorite plays. Right now, you can get it at -114 on FanDuel, but shop around, obviously. But we're going to bet it. We're going to bet the Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces to go over 42.5 points in the first quarter. So that's the first quarter game total, over 42.5. All right, the last play we're going to look at for this game, and we're going to do a player prop. So I asked myself, what have I learned? What have I learned from these first 2 games? I learned that it's very hard to predict who the second scorer is going to be for the Aces. I mean, we know Asia's going to get hers. She's at 23.5 last I checked. That's too low for me. If it goes to 24, I might consider the under, like we played in game 1 that hit. She hit 24, so she still went under 24.5. Kelsey Plum burned us in the last game, so I don't think I want to go back there, even though she's at an okay number, I think, for this game. And then Jackie Young was significantly lower in the last game, but she's up much higher in this one, so I don't know if we want to go there. And then Chelsea Gray, I'm just terrified to bet Chelsea Gray. So I'm not going to bet any of those points or any of those combos. Here's what we're going to bet for a player prop in this game, okay? We're going to bet Jackie Young over 3.5 rebounds. Now, here in Outlier, you can see at first glance, Ryan, what are you talking about, okay? 5 of her last 10, but that's 5 of her last 6 that she's hit the over in. One thing I want you to look at, we'll check the head-to-head real quick, but in the head-to-head, again, 7 of 14, the more recent matchups, not so great. But what is really, really interesting about this one, just want to quickly highlight though, okay? The Liberty are the second last worst team who give up the second most rebounds to guards. So it is a favorable matchup in that sense. And the reason why I like this play, we look at the last 10, but we look at the home splits on Jackie Young. So for whatever reason, when Jackie Young is at home, she goes over 3.5 rebounds. She's gone over in 9 of her last 10 games. She's got an 80% hit rate on the season at over 3.5 when she's at home. And then head to head, she's over in 5 of her last 7 at home against the Liberty, 71% hit rate. And it's a favorable matchup. You can get this at -120 on FanDuel. Shop around if you can get a lower number, but -120 is not that bad. So yeah, we're going to bet this. We're going to bet Jackie Young over 3.5 rebounds. This is the only player prop I can really see myself betting with confidence in this game. Everything else I've looked at, I'm just too scared at this point. Okay, but now we'll go to the earlier game, which I believe is at 7:30. We'll move over to the Sun versus the Lynx. This game is in Connecticut. All right, so sticking with the theme, what have we learned? Well, here's what we've learned in this series, okay? Playoff Alyssa Thomas is a thing. For whatever reason it is, she is a triple-double threat every time she touches the court in the postseason. She's gone over in 6 of her last 10, but more specifically, she's gone over in every single playoff game. She's averaging in these playoff games around 38 minutes. Before we check the minutes real quick, let's just look at the head-to-head. Head-to-head, before we even touch these minutes, she's over in 9 of her last 12 against the Lynx. 9 of her last 12, 4 straight. She's over 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists against the Lynx. Let's go back to her last 10 real quick, and let's check the minutes. So she's averaging around 38 minutes per game. And slightly over that, to be honest, but we jack her up to 38. Okay, still 5 of her last 10. Not that great. But we look at the head-to-head. She's over an 89%. 8 of 9 when she's playing 38 minutes, she's gone over against the Lynx. I bet this immediately when I saw it. It was a late bet that I made in game 2 when I looked at the numbers. Shout out to I believe it was Land Your Bets and Daft Previews. They were doing a live stream and they talked about it. If you like WNBA content, those guys do a great job with it, and obviously other sports as well. Check them out as well. But I bet this, and I'm going with it again, 100%. So yeah, let's put money down on Alyssa Thomas over 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Also, I couldn't talk you off betting Alyssa Thomas over 14.5 points in this game. She's gone over in 11 of 12 versus the Lynx. Yeah, so if you want to bet that, I can't talk you off that either. I'm not putting it as a best bet, but I did sprinkle a little bit on that as well. Not gonna lie. But let's move on to the next play. So the next play I want to look at is DeWanna Bonner over 1.5 3-pointers made. At first glance, 5 of her last 10, 2 straight, mind you, in this series, she has gone over the 1.5. The matchup is not the greatest matchup, but the reason why I like it is because the main 3-point threat for the Connecticut Sun is Marina Mabrey, and basically they were more successful at keeping her from making the 3-point shots in game 2, and they won game 2 as opposed to game 3 where they let Marina Mabrey shoot the 3 all over them and they lost game 1. So in game 3, I think they're going to try and do a little bit like they were doing in game 2 and focus more on stopping Marina Mabrey from making the 3-point shots. And this will hopefully, for us, lead to more shots. As you can see, those attempts, 8 and 7 in game 1 and game 2. If she's going to take these attempts, because she's going to have the looks in comparison, they're going to let her take those shots. Yes, I'm going to take that. So I like that. And then the reason why I like this bet, especially and why I'm going to take it, is for whatever reason, DeWanna Bonner loves to shoot the 3 on the Minnesota Lynx. She has hit the over in 10 of her last 12 games against this team. It's 83% hit rate right there. We can check the home and away, see if that matters. And so not as good at home, but like I said, or like we're expecting, is if she's only going to take 4 attempts, we don't expect to go over, but we're looking at more like what we saw in game 1 and 2, where she took 6 and 7, or 7 and 8 attempts, I think. So if the attempts are going to be there, I really, really like this bet, and I think those attempts are going to be there, and those head-to-head numbers are very hard for me to look away from. So I'm going to bet this one. I'm going to bet DeWanna Bonner over 1.5 3-pointers made. All right, last but not least, and if you haven't guessed it, we're going to go back to our girl, Bridget Carleton, because they brought that points and rebounds number back to 13.5. And 13.5 is where, over the last couple of weeks, we've been smashing this line. And sure, she went under in the last game, but she had a pretty off game. She took way less threes than she normally takes. I think she took way less shots too. And the big thing here, and the reason why I think we went under here, is the minutes. She was playing around 30, 35, 36 minutes in all the previous games, and then for whatever reason, she only played 27. Based on this, I'm thinking she'll probably get an opportunity to play those big minutes again, especially depending on how close this game is, which again, we're expecting a close game between these two. Head to head, she's gone over in 4 of the last 6 games she's played against them. But the reason why we always like this play is when she does play around, let's say 32. Let's say she plays in between the 36 and 28. If she plays in between those 36 and 28, she's over in 8 of her last 10. She's over in 6 straight. Head to head, if she's going to play at least 32 minutes, she's over in 3 straight games where she's played at least 32 minutes. So if she's going to play that median between what she's played in game 1 and between what she played in game 1 and what she played in game 2, then there's a very, very good possibility that she's going to go over. And I think it's good enough to risk it because I would expect a bounce back performance from her in this game. And if not, maybe we'll learn something. But when she plays at least 32 minutes, she's over at a 75% hit rate on the season. So once again, we're going to go back to the well and we're going to bet Bridget Carleton over 13.5 points and rebounds. All right, that about wraps it up for our best bets for game 3 of the WNBA semifinals. If you learned anything new or found any of these found any of these picks found any of this advice, found any of these picks helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to share, subscribe, all those things that support the channel. We really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments which picks you're rolling with. Let me know if there's any that I overlooked. Let me know if there's ones that you guys like. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thanks for watching. Good luck with your bets, guys, and peace.